Yo, what's good, YouTube? Antayami here, back with another video. And in today's video, I'm gonna be doing answering some questions from my last deck profile. There was a lot of very good comments on the last video, and I wanted to capitalize and explain some of my choices and kind of give you how I played my deck. I think that's probably the biggest question of like how I pilot the deck and how I came across some of the decision makings I did in my deck, because it went into a lot of like testing and theorying and how to get to point A to point B the cleanest, and how to play through like Nib, and how to deal with if I get drolled, or if I get drolled Ash, droll Imperm, Ferraros, Ash, stuff like that, right? So I'm gonna answer these questions, and I'm gonna kind of like showcase it here in real life, and then I'll probably end the video off with some test hands, and we'll go from there. Okay. So again, if you guys are enjoying the content, make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. And again, if you leave comments down below that are not like stupid, like that one guy, we're not gonna talk about it. You know it if you know. But if I ever catch you on my channel again, typing in some head stuff, you know what I'm saying, like head ass stuff, then you're gonna get you're just gonna get blocked. All right, so stop that. All right, anyway, so yeah, so with the first question we got, how do you feel about Dweller? So I'm gonna answer this on both perspectives, right? So if you're going based off of my old list, right, if I had 16 cards in my extra deck, I would play Dweller as my 16th card. Dweller is such a blowout card versus a lot of decks and strategies. If I were to side deck Dweller, which I'm not a big fan of side decking hand or extra deck cards, I have done that in the past in some matchups and stuff like that, mostly in my Snake Eyes deck. But I'm not a big fan of doing it because one, I don't like sleeving and re-sleeving, because if your side deck extra deck card doesn't match your side deck, not your extra deck, then you have to like de-sleeve, re-sleeve, and that just takes up too much time, and I just don't like that. There's an argument to where you can actually use the same sleeves, but when you go to pick up your cards and you forget that your extra deck card is in your deck, and you shuffle and you draw, that's a game lost. So it's weird. But besides that, it's not bad to do it, and I think some people are side decking Dweller just because of the like space and stuff like that. Again, if I could fit this in my deck with cutting one of these cards, I would. If I were to side deck it, the way I would side deck it is I probably end up cutting this, which is extremely risky because if I open Black Witch, then I won't be able to get into Dweller very easily. But if I open Black Witch and I don't have this card in my extra deck, then it's tough, right? I guess you could probably cut Agmon, but Agmon comes up a lot in a lot of weird situations. So it's just hard to like side this card in. Maybe you side it in with this, because you typically don't make this card going first. So maybe argument you can like side it in for this, but again, it's just weird to side it in. But if you could play it, I say play it. Card's insane, right? Against Dweller, yeah, that sucks, right? Because Raijua players that are playing at least the Mixus Zuri deck or whatever it's called, I'm gonna learn these names eventually. It's just weird to say. Let me cut on my lights here for a second. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, it's weird because like you're not scared of what board they make. You're not scared of the ritual monster. You're not scared of the detonator. You're scared of the Dweller, because Dweller literally like cuts off all your deck, right? Cuts off the white forest monsters, effects in the grave. You can't like bring them back out the grave. Your Fiendsmith engine is cooked. Whenever you send cards to the graveyard for like effect, or cost, you can't bring them back. So like your whole deck just gets cooked, and you also lose to detonator when you can't use your graveyard to like play the game. So Dweller is tough. You just gotta hand trap them and keep them off Dweller. That's the best way to do it, right? That's why I'm on hand traps versus like void breakers. I'm still seeing people playing like Ultimate Slayer and cards like that, and I don't think that's correct at all. I think it's bad, because then you run into Dweller, they just Dweller you and you lose because you can't break their board. So it's very weird and very tough. That's why I'm going with more of the hand trap approach, because now I can stop them from doing whatever they need to do, and from there I can crack the board. I even if Dweller was by himself on the board, I can still play through that. It's like Dweller plus other interruptions that makes Dweller like super crazy. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question on how I feel about Dweller. Yes, I would play it if I could, but right now, since I'm on the Phoenix package and it's hard to like make space for it, I can't play it. But if you want to make space for it, all means, go for it. All right, so the next question is, when I go 6-1 at my pre-locals, well, he went 6-1 at his pre-locals with his 60 card list, which is pretty crazy, right? You decided to main cash cards and Black Ghost Lab as options to make sending discards less costly. I don't like the soft hand traps like Ash Veiler. You need to keep the card economy to have a chance to play the game. So that is true. And again, I don't know how most White Forest players are playing their decks. I'm sure I play White Forest a lot different than the most standard player. I try to focus on a lot of 2-card combos most of the time, while still like hand trapping my opponent and doing really good things to, like, you know, mind game my opponent. Maybe I don't commit super hard and I pivot into like maybe playing on turn 3 instead of doing this all on turn 1, and using the cards that you didn't use as, like, you know, basically to answer a lot of people's questions on how I think about how I identify Yu-Gi-Oh and how I play the game, is that when I go first, my whole point of me going first is I don't die. My favorite decks in Yu-Gi-Oh are decks that literally have so much follow-up that no matter what my opponent does to me, I kill them next turn. Let's just move on, right? So White Forest fits that that degree, right? It literally sets up basically like an FTK going first. So even if your opponent tries to break through the board, even with board breakers, I mean, I got eclipsed. What was like, it was like 3 board breakers. It was like Eclipse, Droplets, and Ultimate Slayer, and they still lost even with Engine. So like, that's why I don't think board breakers are it right now, because every White Forest player that I went against in testing, or at least on the ladder, literally lost because they go like, exact discard Black Ghost Lab. I'm like, okay, so Black Ghost Lab is gonna stop what, one of my 4 monsters? So you have to like play really ahead of the game with that. And on top of it, I have hand traps. So a lot of the times when they go like Ezet effect, I have like Ash, because in my combos I draw in 2 to 3 cards. I'm going to see hand traps, right? So like you breaking the board and then try to play through like the Nib or Veiler or Ash in the hand is really difficult. 9 times out of 10, I'm going to win. Have I lost to board breakers and stuff like that? Absolutely. There's hands that are like very, very weak that I make, so I don't really end on the right board. Sometimes I get hit with Ferraro, so I had to end on the half board, and then board breakers go crazy. But when I full combo, which is 9 times out of 10 I will, because even if they Ferraros me or whatever, then I hit them with like an Ash, or, you know, 33% of the time. So it's just like 9 times out of 10, if we play 100 matches, I feel like I'll win 90 of the games, as long as I don't like throw or misplay anything like that. So not a big fan of Black Ghost Lab because it's bad going second. Yes, it can out Detonator, doesn't out Dweller, so it's just like, it's tough in that regards. But yeah, it's a cool tech. You can still play if you feel comfortable with it. If it's been working for you, then I say play it. But if not, I don't think Black Ghost Lab is a good card in today's meta at the moment. But I think it probably will see play once, if like Dweller or something gets banned or something like that. Also for cash cards, since you're playing a 60 card deck, yes, you need to fill out your deck with more like engine or other engines, sub engines, to help support you playing 60 cards. I don't know how many non-engine you're playing. It probably sounds like you're on like 24 non-engine. And cashier cards are interesting. I don't think cash cards are very good at the moment. I feel like if you want to compare to like the Bestials, or if you want to compare it to I don't know, Bestials, the what's that other package called, the one with the normal monsters, Primites, stuff like that, I think they feel a little bit better into today's meta game, because it's all about right now grinding with your opponent. There's some games where you just win because you kind of compare hands. You like, oh, I literally opened everything, and your opponent kind of opened nothing. So like Yeah, you have games where you just kind of win on the spot, but a lot of the times, if your opponent is good and they open just as good as you are, you're grinding with them. So, cash cards personally don't do that as much as they used to. I feel like they're more fair than how they were played back in the day. So, cash cards are still cool. I think they're still good, but I think if you want to compare it to like Bistrels, Lebellion, like the regain package, or like the Fiendstuff engine, or something like that, I think cash tiers are like the 4th or 5th worst or least popular package at the moment. So yeah, so hopefully that answers your question. And then his other thing, he says he doesn't like soft hand traps like Ashen Veiler. The thing is about hand traps has always been true. When you open up one hand trap, 90% of good decks will always play through one hand trap. If you open one Nib, or if you open one Bestial, or if you open one Veiler, one Imperm, you know, whatever. Even most decks can even play through a Droll, right? Because if you get Drolled, you can still make a decent board. And if your opponent can't out the board, what Droll does is that it keeps a lot of their follow-up in their hand. So if you don't end the game on the spot, which again, I've been Drolled like twice at the, I think it was three or 2 times at the tournament. And every single time I got Drolled, I won. Because it didn't matter, because I put up a decent board that was good enough and I had follow-up. So when he didn't kill me, because going first, my whole goal of going first is to live. As long as I live, I win the game, basically. And the goal for going second a lot of the times is not like you need to take away all the resources of your opponent. So if they don't have any follow-up, they don't have any of that, then you can break the board and you don't have to end on that many interruptions to stop their top deck. But your whole goal is to not win on turn 2. Most of the time you can if you're Tempai, right? Win on turn 2 is great, but you want to like give them no resources, and then when it gets back to your turn, then you can like turn 4 kill them, because you know you can basically say, hey, can I win off of life points, or can I win by, hey, I have so much like advantage over you, you need to scoop type deal. So that's kind of like my thought process on going second. Basically, it's not all about life points. Sometimes people get super greedy and they go for the OTK, and then they get hit with a rock, or they think they have to win the game on spot, where basically they're winning in game state. So yeah, if you're winning in game state, just keep winning on game state. If you have 9 cards over your opponent, keep 9 cards over your opponent. Eventually they'll run out of resources, they'll lose. So alternate win condition. But yeah, the hand traps work better in pairs. That's why you play 19 hand traps. Not in my deck, because my deck is only playing 14. But 14 and 40, I think you have like a 60% chance of seeing 2. So like that's pretty good, right? So yep, you want to see them in pairs. They work really well in pairs. So that's why I like the soft hand traps. It doesn't work well in your deck because you're playing 60. So your non-engine are going to be so far apart. You're going to probably see more engine than you do non-engine. So it probably makes more sense for you to play board breakers in that regards. So that's why Black Ghost Laugh gets a little bit more value, because it's better as a standalone card, where something like you opening one Veiler in 60, it ain't going to cut it. You're going to still have gas in your hand, but the one Veiler, your opponent's still going to make pretty much full inboard. So especially if you're fighting against Malice, like, holy. Did I miss Woes at all? I'm going to go ahead and tell you guys right now, if you are playing Woes in your White Forest deck currently, if it's pure Karibo or like Exodia, if you're not playing this card over Woes, I'm going to just let you know right now, you are super throwing. This card is infinitely better in every sense of the imagination. This card works better as a standalone card. Woes, yeah, you can like set Woes, activate Woes, and get yourself into engine, but if your opponent kills you, you're dead. Like, who cares? This card, even if it composes for 1 or 2, a lot of the times, that's still really good, and your opponent can't really interact with this card as easily, right? Woes can get ashed. This card can't get ashed. This card can actually bounce back your card. So like you can go like for example something like this, right? So you can go like on end phase, let's say they didn't activate this or whatever, you can go like end phase, shuffle this back, summon Sylvie, and again, this has been times on end phase where I went against Paleozoics and I bounced him for 5 because he set 5. I went Alps bounce 5 and he goes holy, and then it's, you know, it's over. So yeah. But there's been times where you have like a bounce 5 here and you go, you're not going to usually bounce 5 cards from your opponent. A lot of times you just bounce like 2 or 3. You can bounce cards like your Black Witch and your Sylvie for follow-up. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to bounce your opponent's cards. You can bounce your own cards. There's been times where I reset Deception, and to protect my Deception from getting destroyed, a lot of times I activate Alps, bounce the Deception back to my hand so they can't interact with it. Even small things like that. This card is just broken, and if you think that Woes is better, I mean, you can go play in the side events, because that's where you're going to be. Like, you're going to like set that stuff up. You're going to get Ash. You're like, oh, wow, crazy. You drew the Ash. You're crazy. You'd be surprised how many times people draw Ash off the top of the deck. Like, it's pretty crazy. My Woes got Ash, and it just like, it sucked, especially if they already hand trapped me to death. Yeah, it's just not a good feeling. So yep, that's how I feel about that. Why did I add back Guardian Chimera? I thought it was a win more card. So the reason why I added Guardian Chimera, and I did explain it in the comments, but the reason why I added back Guardian Chimera over like the Link 4, or you know, I think I replaced this with the Link 4, but the reason why I added back the Guardian Chimera is because, one, it's very, 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 very good going first. I guess you guys should already know this, and I'm gonna show you guys some quick tricks on how I resolve Guardian Chimera a lot easier, right? So let's just put up my standard end board here, and I'll show you how Guardian Chimera can be like very crazy, right? So like usually it's Delibels, then I have let's see who else I have. Usually I have Desiree. Let's say Desiree, and then I usually have this on board, right? And let's just put Desiree with Agmande, because yeah, usually he's equipped with something, but most likely he's always equipped with both. But let's just put Agmande here for sake of argument, right? I have this card set because I went for this card. So a lot of the times, whenever you go for this line, you have Sylvie in the grave, and a lot of times you always go through your Ezet in your combo, right? And let's say, for example, you can have Wanted set sometimes. You can have extra Black Witches in hand. So a lot of the times, how I will resolve this Chimera like safely is that a lot of the times I can activate Sylvie's effect. Sylvie will summon itself back. That's going to trigger my Ezet, and Ezet adds itself back to hand. This is already a card that you can use for Guardian Chimera, and you can use this card for Guardian Chimera. And there's times where if you already activate Desiree's effect, then you can actually use like these two plus Desiree, or Desiree plus this card in hand to like making Guardian Chimera. Now, if you have like Black Witch, or say you drew extra copies of like Wanted and you set it, you activate Wanted in draw phase, put that in the grave, you add Black Witch, and then now whenever you go Guardian Chimera, like let's say you get rid of Sylvie, Desiree to pop 2 here, and then you get rid of the Black Witch, you summon Guardian Chimera. Now, what's funny about Guardian Chimera, and this happens before, it can get Ash Blossom, right? If you just do Guardian Chimera Chainlink 1 and that's it, it can lose on Ash Blossom, which has happened before. So now, since you send your Black Witch and your Desiree, now you can use Desiree as like Chainlink 3 to chain block everything. Black Witch, it will activate her effect to bring herself out the grave to send something else. This is in the grave. So for this example, this is Chainlink 1, Chainlink 2, Chainlink 3. Desiree will shuffle back the sequence. You keep this in the grave. So that will shuffle back something. This will blow up too, and then you can like summon this. If this uses effect already, yeah, sure, then you can send this away and go crazy. Also, fun fact, this card can also help you make a Chimera as well, because a lot of times you're gonna Book Eclipse your board or your opponent's board, and then a lot of the times if they don't, if they pass on a Book and Eclipse board, then you can make Guardian Chimera popping 2 cards, whatever, if you want to get rid of more cards. Just a draw, or you can pop 1 card, draw 2. And you can also just use this as like material. You can use these 2, because since you use both their effects, and then Ezet or Black Witch, or you guys get the point, right? That's why I think Guardian Chimera is so strong going first, and that's how you activate it very easily in a lot of scenarios. And how this works for going second. So let me show you guys how Guardian Chimera works for going second a lot of the times, because it can be used to like heavily pushed through inboards a lot of the times. So there's some lines where a lot of the time Sylvie should get interacted with, but in a lot of like grind scenarios, especially if you have like the Charmies, or go down here and pick this up real quick, because my goal for the future, do this, and it's toxic. So I usually in most matchups, let's say I add, and eventually I'm going to get more of these cards right here. I'm going to side deck 9 of these cards for the most part. I don't do it in every single matchup. Obviously, like there's some matches where this card is useless. There's some matchup where this card is useless. There's some matchup where this card is useless, which is really never, but yeah. So you get the point, right? So I'm going to side deck 9 of these. Now, the whole point of side decking 9 of these cards is to play through Ash, right? Because a lot of the times your Charmies get stopped 33% of the time. 33% of the time. So every single time you enter a match, so say for example you enter a YCS or a regionals, and every other match you play, like round 1, round 3, round 5, these are not resolving you going second. Like these are just not resolving. Call by the Grave, Cross Out, Ash, so many ways you can stop these cards. So the whole point of it is to see 2 of them. So you have 9 copies of these cards. I don't know the exact math on this on the top of my brain, but I know for going second, drawing 5 cards, you have a 33% chance of seeing a 3 of. And I think you have like a 60 or 73%, I think it's a 70 something percent chance of seeing a 9 of going second. So I don't know the math on opening 2 like that. I think it's like 50% or something, but like opening these cards are insane. So you force your opponent in on half force half the time. If they Ash Blossom, you draw a second one, then like you're in there, you're in a clear. You almost feel like you win that game because your game is so gas. Because you know, it's just White Forest decks, it's just crazy, right? It's good. Black Witch in like I guess like not open game states, but kind of like in a grind game, it's broken if this card resolves. Engraver is really broken. Normal Summoning Lacrima is really broken. Normal Summoning Sylvie is really broken, and letting it like resolve and stuff like that. Like you just win the game when you kind of put them on a half board, right? So where Guardian Chimera comes in is that like even if you hard open Sinful Spoils, which happens a lot for some reason, I open this card a lot going second. So if you normal summon Sylvie, right, and this is your hand, right, because you're going second and you know drew more of these cards, and you know you stop your opponent from making a really crazy board, and you have like a hand like this. It's just a weird example, right? It could be like, I don't know, like make this more realistic, like, oh no, you drew into this, right? So like, where are you? Yeah, this. So like you can do something like normal summon Sylvie. A lot of the times people always blow their imperms or veilers on this card. So you go normal summon Sylvie, activate effect, chain link 1, they go chain link 2, and you go okay, chain link 3 this, and then you literally link or send these 2. Let's just say we send these 2, right? And then you send these to the grave. Then you will make a Guardian Chimera. Then Sylvie will resolve, searching, you know, usually this, and then you draw 2 cards, pop a card, and you're off to the races. That happens a lot, and it's just so much pressure, especially again in the grind game. Let's see what the 2 cards you draw. Yeah, like something like that, right? So like there's a higher chance that you can see engine cards and you're like, oh no, you added this, your card is dead, right? Yeah, it's cool because you have so many ways to see engine. Like if you drew this and like drew, I don't know, like something like this, like yeah, you can continue to play the game. If you drew something like Engraver, congratulations, you can still play the game. Like you're seeing so many cards in your deck after you Guardian Chimera, and you have a big body on board. Like it's really, really crazy. That's just an example of that, right? Sometimes you can like if you have like Bestials on board and you normal summon Sylvie, it gets interacted with. Or if it doesn't get interacted with, you can search this and always hold this card. Sometimes you activate the effect to summon from the hand. That happens more times than not. I'm not going to go over situations of that happening, but again, we're just talking about Guardian Chimera. It's just really, really good. It's just really, really strong, and I won't cut it for the time being. I think it's just too strong in grind games, or times it can come up. You can take some of your dead cards in your hand that you really can't use, and then just turn them into a draw 2 pop 1. Like, sign me up every day of the week. It's very strong. How to play if my opponent activates Ferraros. I was thinking of playing Debtors and Saint Azamina with that purpose. I know a lot of people came up to me, at least at the locals I went to, was asking me about like Saint Azamina and stuff like that. I'm gonna be real with you. I think Saint Azamina will probably be played in the next set, which is the Insight, Elias Insight, or whatever it's called. I think it'll probably have potential to be played in that set, but for right now, I think this card is dog. Like, this card is not it right now, especially if you're playing Fiendsmith. You don't have space for it. Now, if you're playing Pure, I guess you can tech this in because you kind of have space for it, but it's very hard to summon. Right now it is, right? Because you need 2 simple spoil cards to summon it. And the actual way to summon it is just like, you already should be winning the game if you can do that. So like, why waste an extra deck slot to play this card, even though its effect is broken? Like, I will give you that. Like, the effect of this card is broken. The fact that they can't target anything on the graveyard, banishment, field, or this card, and it has like that U-Bell effect that you can actually like crash into your opponent monsters. Yeah, I 1000% understand what the card does and how good it is. Like, it hits the field, you probably in a good spot. The problem is, how often are you summoning that card? You know, are you going second and you're just opening this like every single game? Like, hello, let's see, we opening this plus this. Like, are we going second and this is like our going second hand? Like like, what are we doing? Like, sign me up for that. I need to know how to stack my deck like this. I mean, heck, if I can stack my deck like a club cheese sandwich every game, I'll probably be a YCS champion. But no, like, it's just unrealistic, and personally, I don't think it's necessary. Again, the quote "win more" comes into brain, or comes into mind. It's kind of the reason why I also cut the Link 4, because I think the Link 4 is also just a win more card in that regards, because if you're getting hand trapped, it's really hard to end on her. And if you do end on her, you have full inboard. Like, you literally have like Desiree plus the Dillabells plus the Omni Negate. Like, why do you need a monster that reborns cards? And you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not worth it. I wanted the card to help me go second more, and that's why Guardian Chimera kind of popped out of nowhere, because it also helps me go second. And then this card also helps me bridge into the White Forest engine when I don't have White Forest. So I don't know, just like the cards win more, and you never make her going second. I don't think there was a single game in Yu-Gi-Oh history of me testing this deck that I actually made her going second, ever. Even when I was flexing, I never made her. So nope, don't need her. Nope, don't need her. All right, guys. This video is already pretty long, so I think I'm gonna end it off here. But oh, I'm sorry. So let me show you some test. Let me just do a little quick test hand real quick, like real quick test hand, and showcase this. I'll probably teach people how to play through like certain hand traps and stuff more consistently. So let's just say my opponent only they activated Ferraros in the standby phase or something to play around talents, because if you're not playing around talents this format, you're throwing. So a lot of times you'll probably see your opponents activating Ferraros in the standby phase, which is, I think, correct at the moment, until talents like dies off. But yeah, let's just draw a test hand and see if we can play through a Ferraros the way I like. So we have Sylvie, we have Imperm, we have Rock, and we have Azamina Azet. Okay, so my opponent goes draw phase standby Ferraros, and you go okay. So obviously with this hand is pretty good because you already played through like Imperm with like hard opening these two cards. But let's just go ahead and see how we can play through the Ferraros by giving our opponents like literally either net even or net, -1. So you go normal summon Sylvie, you activate the effect of Sylvie. So since we already have the Azumina Azet, normally here I'll like go Tails and search out her. But since now we already have Tails, we can actually, or sorry, Azumina Azet, we're gonna probably, let me see here. We're gonna probably go for Alps. And of course we got the Imperm Nib, so we're already like cooking, right? Then we're gonna activate the effect, special summon this. We're gonna Synchro Shogun, summoning this. Not in the Anima Zone, but who cares for practice sakes, right? So we go Chain Link to this. Chain Link 1 as an Azumina. Your opponent draws a card. Then you discard the Alps. Was it Imperm? Then this right here will probably search for this. And again, remember what I said about the Chimera plays and stuff like that? Still applies here. We have Sylvie that we can get rid of, and we don't have an Azet that can float back, but that's okay. So here, this right here can actually search Deception. So let's go search Deception. I mean, you can search one if you want. Like, there's so many things you can technically do here, but let's go ahead and search Deception just because we have a dead Sylvie in our hand. So we're gonna set or search the Deception, and then we're going to activate this. Oh, sorry, this needs to set itself back. Don't forget that. So we're gonna set that here. We'll leave it face up for practice reasons. Then we activate Deception. Deception is going to tribute the dead Sylvie in our hand, and we're gonna search for Hollowed. Actually, I don't think that's correct. Actually, it's better to search for Wanted. I apologize. You actually go Wanted effect because you're on a Ferraros. You don't want to go Deception here. You actually go Black Witch. I apologize for that. Then you go activating this to pitch, I think in this personal position. Think we pitched this, and the reason why we pitched this because this is not going to do anything on the board, but in the graveyard we can revive it back with Sylvie. Well, shuffle it back for Sylvie, and it still counts towards this because this is still in the graveyard. Then we go for Deception here, and then activate Deception, pitching the Sylvie. And if you want to give your opponent an extra draw, especially if you know what deck they're on, maybe it's not like super crazy, you can. But you can put an Omni Negate on board just to kind of like fluff out the graveyard a little bit. It makes, or fluff out like interruptions. I probably still end up doing it, to be real. So let's go ahead and activate Hollowed. We'll give them a +1 here because who cares? Your deck is better, so who cares? Summoning that, and then you give them another draw, who cares? And then you can draw an extra card with this if you want to. So in this particular example, we like drawing cards. Let's just draw a card here. We draw a card and we drew into another Wanted. So fantastic. We can set the Wanted, we can set this, and we set this, and giving us our opponent's 2 draws. And we still have like a ton of interruptions here. Again, you didn't have to give them a second draw. You didn't have to. But in this particular situation, I feel like this is pretty solid through a Ferraros, right? I mean, even if they draw like multiple cards for Engine and Breaking, you're probably not dying, especially since we have Nib, Imperm off the rip. And then we have a Bounce 2 here. We have a Bounce 2. We have an Omni Negate. And then we have a Guardian Chimera. And we have Wanted set for more follow-up. And then, of course, we have like Sylvie in the grave to shuffle this back to summon itself for more like Guardian Chimera plays. I don't think you're losing this. So this is 1, 2, three, or sorry, not three, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 interruptions with this particular hand, and you gave them a +1. So still think you're in a good position here. And you got to remember too, whenever your Black Witch gets sent to the graveyard, you can make it float. So this is how I would do this, right? And I think a lot of people don't know this. I'm gonna show you guys some tips and tricks for this. You guys want to see some tips and tricks? I can actually make like a top 5 tip video thing about this, but here's a really cool interaction that I think a lot of people don't know. So let's say, for example, we'll go, I don't know, Sylvie effect, shuffling this back. Then we flip over Sinful Spoils of the White Forest, right? We'll send these cards to the grave to make our Guardian Chimera. We're gonna draw 2, and then we're gonna pop 1. Then Black Witch is gonna activate, right? We chain Wanted. So Black Witch effect will activate in the grave. Chain Wanted. Wanted is gonna search us another Black Witch, like so. And then since how chain links work, since at the end of the chain, that's when all your cards get sent to the graveyard, you can actually summon Black Witch and send the already activated Wanted. So you didn't even lose a card for Black Witch. Black Witch effect is gonna activate, and if you really want to, you can set another Wanted here, which I don't advise since you already have one in the grave. I rather Deception, and if they out your Deception, like if they banish it with IP or SP or something, then you have Wanted already to shuffle it back. You have a Black Witch already for follow-up. You drew a Veiler, and you have Azet because you're just built different. So that's just like some technical play, and maybe I should make like a more technical play video of like really small interactions like that can help you push through and maximize on your cards, right? That could even work with anything. Like you can actually like chain D barrier here, and then use Black Witch effect on a earlier chain to send it to. So it's just not just with Wanted, it's just for anything. You can, I don't know, Imperm and then Wanted send it, or Black Witch send it. So yeah. All right, guys. I didn't do a test hand like I wanted to. We'll move the test hands to the next video. I will be working on a top 5 tips video coming up this week, and then I also will go over my tournament matches if you guys are down for that as well. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Sorry this is another long video. I don't think a lot of people on YouTube like the longer videos, so I'm gonna try to cut this off right now the way it is. Again, leave a comments down below if you have any more questions, but I decided to do this video because yeah, I just thought like this is a great way to answer some of your guys' questions that had concerns on how I play the deck. Oh, even before I leave here, let me see if I can do one more test hand bonus content for the people that stuck around. Actually, you know what? No, I won't. I'll save it for the test hand video. It'll make more sense. How I play the Phoenix Wheel package. I'll save that for the next video. All right, guys, have a great one. Peace.